Exhaust drifts over Santa Monica's cliffs, a convertible's headlamps glow, and somewhere between laughter and dawn, a Hollywood comet blinks out. She was beautiful, profitable, and within hours, dead. Open the garage door with us. Every fume, rumor, and photograph still smolders beneath its coastal concrete, waiting for you to ask what happened. Cold gray Pacific dawn. Above the Sidewalk Café on the Roosevelt Highway, a chocolate brown 1934 Lincoln Phaeton stands motionless inside a Spanish tile garage rented to silent film veteran Jewel Carmen. The Lincoln's engine is off now, but fumes still sting the air, and at the wheel slumps Thelma Todd, Hollywood's quick-witted ice cream blonde. A maid named Mae Whitehead pushes open the wooden door, feels the bitter gas, and screams. Within minutes, the canyon lane swarms with police, photographers, and neighbors in dressing gowns. Death by carbon monoxide poisoning, the county pathologist will say. Officially accidental, possibly suicidal. Yet from that morning to this one, nearly 90 years later, the verdict rests uneasy. Headlines spoke of jealousy, organized crime, missing footprints, and a locked door riddle. Evidence vanished in the chaos. Bystanders pocketed gravel. Reporters tramped across any tire mark that might have timed her final drive. What truly happened between 3 a.m. and sunrise? This film noir enigma survives because every piece of it, romance, money, rage, felt cinematic even before the cameras arrived. Todd was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts, 1906, winning the Miss Massachusetts title at 19 and a Paramount contract before 22. Ice blonde features and a gift for rat-a-tat dialogue shot her into 120 shorts and features in 8 years. She fenced quips with the Marx Brothers in Horse Feathers and matched Laurel and Hardy pratfall for pratfall in The Devil's Brother. Comedy press agents called her laughter a cash register with curls. Success carried a bill. Contracts fined her, or even suspended pay if she gained weight. One surviving clause threatens termination at 5 pounds over limit. She juggled magazine shoots by day, nightclub premieres by night, and a persistent ulcer she soothed with soda crackers between takes. Letters to her widowed mother mention exhaustion, then pivot to describing snow in Vermont and how much toddy mix to order for Christmas. Even in her private pages, despair never holds the pen for long. In 1934, Todd joined director Roland West and his wife Jewel Carmen in opening the Sidewalk Café, a Mediterranean-style complex overlooking the ocean. The plan, West would manage, Todd would lend star power, and tourists on the newly paved Coast Highway would drink it in. Profits arrived, but so did tension. West, 30 years older, inventive and notoriously controlling, began monitoring Todd's social life, telephoning her suite when she came home after midnight. Hollywood gossip columns claimed the couple were lovers. Friends described them instead as sparring business partners, whose tempers sometimes cracked china. Todd teased that she needed a day off to remember what silence sounds like. Yet she never discussed withdrawing her capital. In November 1935, she purchased new draperies for the café and scheduled a January marketing push. Later writers will allege that Charles "Lucky" Luciano tried to lease the café's upstairs room for high-stakes roulette, and that Todd laughed him out the door. No police file proves the meeting, but the story endures. Partly because Luciano associate Bugsy Siegel provably spent several weekends in Santa Monica that fall. The café, like Todd, sat at the intersection of money, glamour, and rum-running memories, ripe for rumor even without proof. 6 p.m. The Trocadero Sunset Strip. Todd arrives in powder blue chiffon for film publicist Arthur Jarrett's holiday dinner. She orders broiled chicken, sips one champagne, laughs through uniformed chorus boys' carols. 9 p.m. Ex-husband Pat DeSico, Paramount scout and sometime brawler, appears. Earl Wilson's column will claim they conversed tensely but quietly. No raised voices, witnesses insist. 1:45 a.m. Chauffeur Ernest Peters steers the Lincoln west. Traffic policeman Ransom Harris clocks them rolling through Beverly Hills. Peters later estimates he set Todd down outside the cafe about 2 o'clock. 2:15 a.m. Roland West, sweepless above the restaurant, phones downstairs. No answer. He later tells investigators he secured the cafe's lobby doors from inside, intending that Todd would have to knock. Whether he locked anything at all remains disputed. Approximately 3 o'clock a.m. A neighbor, Mrs. Myrtle Beaudry, hears a car engine in the canyon. She can't swear it was the Lincoln. Between 3:15 and dawn, silence. No authenticated phone calls, no diary entry, no chauffeur sighting. Police will search Pacific Boulevard payphones for fingerprints, but report nothing conclusive. When the maid discovers Todd at 7:45 a.m., the ignition key sits in the off position, battery drained. The driver's door is closed, but not locked. Her evening gown is gone. She wears a mink over street clothes and a single diamond earring. Nothing about the tableau, posture, coat unbuttoned, one hand resting on the steering wheel, screams struggle. Yet neither does it whisper suicide. Everyone sees what they fear. West sees a tragic accident. DeSico sees headlines. Newspapermen smell pulp gold. Santa Monica Boulevard's dimensions produce an echo chamber for motors. The Carmen garage measures roughly 19 by 11 feet. Cinder block walls, a single window high on the sea-facing side. With the door shut tight, independent tests in 1936 showed a convertible idling inside could push carbon monoxide concentration above fatal thresholds in under 15 minutes. Todd's Lincoln, however, was not running when police arrived. Its gas tank still held several gallons. The implication, the engine had run earlier, then stopped, either because someone turned the key or because the choking fumes stalled combustion. Investigators photographed a superficial abrasion on her upper lip. They noted no broken nose, no fractured ribs. Autopsy surgeon A.P. Wagner described slight contusion of mucous membrane, the sort of red mark a driver might get bumping a steering wheel if she nodded forward. Blood carboxyhemoglobin level read 78%, compatible with rapid loss of consciousness. No alcohol registered, no barbiturate residue. Toxicology in 1935 could not test amphetamines or benzedrine inhalers, both common diet aids, so their presence remains unknown. Crucially, the site was never sealed. By 10 a.m., curious onlookers reached over sawhorses to pluck gravel and peer into the driver's seat. One photographer lugged tripod scratches into the floor's dust. Photographs survive with cigarette butts in new positions between frames. In an era before modern crime scene protocol, the first 2 hours erased half the original canvas. At the Ocean Park Courthouse 8 days later, seats filled an hour before the doors opened. The audience included Clark Gable, studio messengers, vendors hawking peanuts, and a trio of tourists who thought they were buying prize fight tickets. Under oath, Roland West repeated his theory. Todd probably sat in the Lincoln to warm up, dozed, and never awoke. District Attorney Buron Fitz pressed him about locking doors. West insisted he may have snapped the latch out of irritation, but could not recall. Autopsy findings were read aloud. Skin stained bright cherry, carboxyhemoglobin 78%, superficial abrasion inside upper lip, otherwise healthy organs. A physician added that such an abrasion could appear post-mortem when blood settles. Chauffeur Ernest Peters testified that Todd was in fine spirits during the drive and discussed Christmas gifts. A studio secretary produced a letter from Todd to her mother, outlining Vermont holiday plans and requests for maple sugar. Reporters waved the letter at flashbulbs as proof against suicide. The jury deliberated 40 minutes and returned. Death by accidental carbon monoxide poisoning, with insufficient evidence to determine intent. In plain English, accident most likely, suicide possible, homicide unproved. Outside, boos rose from spectators who wanted villainy. Columnist Luella Parsons typed that night, "Hollywood's thirst for melodrama still outstrips any studio's output." Ever since the incident, there have been a few theories in rotation, 3 of which we'll discuss today. The first theory: accident. Proponents picture a tired 30-year-old locked out of her apartment on a cold December night, starting the car for heat, nodding off. The abrasion on her lip fits a sleepy slump. Missing is any explanation for why she wore street clothes rather than the evening gown she had on minutes earlier. Second theory: suicide. Detectives found no note, no diary to spare, and no financial collapse. Nonetheless, West's locking her out could have delivered a final humiliation. Friends disagree. Actress Zazu Pitts told the Examiner Todd was planning a Horsefeathers anniversary party 2 days later. Studio paperwork shows she renegotiated her Hal Roach contract that week. Nothing suicidal surfaces unless you accept the era's belief that movie comedy ends hid secret sadness. Third theory: homicide. West hypothesis. He orders her out, then in rage or panic, forces her into the garage, turns the Lincoln on, closes the door, leaves. Obstacle. No defensive wounds, no damage to dress or coat. DeSico hypothesis. He follows from the Trocadero, strikes her, stages accident. Obstacle. No witness places him near the café after 9 p.m. He was known to be brutal, but brutality often bruises visibly. Organized crime hypothesis. Todd refused Luciano's gambling proposal. 2 of his men deliver a threat that spirals. Obstacle. Luciano was demonstrably in Hot Springs awaiting his perjury appeal. Siegel's presence in Los Angeles is verified, yet not in Santa Monica that night, and neither man had reason to leave the body where it would ignite headlines. The homicide camp's strongest fact is the closed garage door. An unconscious person cannot shut it. A murderer or a companion scared into flight could. But the same objection applies to a suicide. Thelma could have started the Lincoln with the door open, then pulled it down to muffle noise, believing she would stay awake. 9 decades on, every theory leans on inference because key physical markers vanished under crowds. The puzzle remains unsolved, not for lack of clues, but for surplus of hands that smudged them. Hollywood tightened set visit rules after Todd's inquest, not via a statute, but through informal studio policy. Accidents must not be photographed without clearance. Fan magazines hinted that actresses received confidential mental health referrals, rare compassion in an industry fueled by image. Todd's mother, Alice Todd, inherited the Café lease. She sold the building in 1948, donating part of the proceeds to a Lawrence Girls Scholarship that still carries Thelma's name. The villa on the bluff endures. Residents have reported the scent of gardenias, or sometimes exhaust, at random dawns. Tour buses idle across the road, guides retelling the story with revisions. Packard becomes Lincoln. Broken nose becomes lip bruise. Luciano becomes Lore. Each decade films a new version. An NBC teleplay in 1957, a court TV episode in 1999, a streaming docuseries greenlit in 2024. None close the case, all rekindle it. Picture a reel winding backward, spotlights on Sunset Strip, windshield wipers clearing salty haze, press flashbulbs bleaching garage walls. A red stamp, case closed, accidental, slamming onto a coroner's folder. Freeze any single frame and the explanation looks tidy. Let the reel move and edges blur, possibilities reopen. Thelma Todd's story lingers because it is cinema about cinema, illusion debating reality across 9 decades. We have walked the timeline step by step, stripped rumor where fact failed, kept mystery where evidence ends. If a diary surfaces, if a fingerprint card long misfiled comes to light, the narrative will reel forward again. Until then, we ask, which theory fits your cut of the film? Comment below, subscribe for the next case, and keep questioning the final credits, because sometimes truth sneaks in after the projector jams and the audience thinks the show is over.